The death toll from a suicide bomb attack in the Afghan capital has risen to 48 and is likely to rise further. That's according to local health officials. 67 others were injured in the attack on an education centre in a Shi'ite neighbourhood of Kabul. No one has yet claimed responsibility. This comes after reports of at least 45 security personnel being killed after the Taliban attacked a military camp north of Kabul. Local journalist Sultan Faizi reports.
It has been a very deadly day for Afghanistan. It's a very bloody day for Afghanistan, not only in northern Afghanistan, but also in eastern Afghanistan. At least 12 ANA soldiers have been killed and 3 are missing. But in Baghlan province, specifically in the location where there are conflicting reports that all 45 people or Afghan security forces have been killed. But speaking earlier to a spokesperson for the Northern Corps, he didn't confirm the death of the ANA soldiers. He said that 28 soldiers were there and they are missing. Then they have lost connection and they tried to send reinforcement, but they have been also ambushed. Many people have been actually, questioning the management of the security forces, that what have been they doing. So basically, following, post 2014, they have been only involved. The coalition forces are only involved in training, assist, and advice mission. Basically, they are not on the ground, but they have been, conducting airstrikes that have been causing sometimes civilian casualties.
This is the latest in a string of Taliban attacks. Heavy clashes between the militant group and the country's security forces erupted last week.
I saw my friend dying. He was among 13 people, including children and women, who were killed during an airstrike last night.
There is no attention from the government and no facilities for the residents. Dead bodies are still on the roadsides. I've also been injured.
Joining me live now to discuss this further is Jamal Wakim, Professor of History and International Relations at the Lebanese University in Beirut. Good to have you with us, Mr. Wakim. Now, according to different sources, the Taliban now controls from between 14 to about 50% of Afghan territory. Given that it controlled only 1% as a result of the US invasion in 2001, what has gone wrong here?
Well, I believe that it was mainly the efforts of the United States to antagonize countries that are neighboring to Afghanistan, like China, Russia, and Iran, in addition to its role to destabilize the regime or to destabilize Pakistan, that have enabled the Taliban to maneuver to win a wide space of maneuverability, especially that back in 2001-2002, the United States was only capable of pacifying the country through the logistical and intelligence provided to it by these neighboring countries to Afghanistan in an attempt to fight terrorism. So now that the United States is antagonizing all these countries, in addition to its withdrawing economic support to the Afghani government due to austerity measures in the United States, I believe that this have given the opportunity to the Taliban to strike back and to take control of wide areas of Afghanistan.
We're seeing some critics draw parallels between Afghanistan and the now infamous US campaign in Vietnam. Is that something you would agree with? Do you see it too?
Well, this is a comparison to be drawn, but I would also compare the crisis that is facing the United States in Afghanistan now to that to the crisis that faced the Soviet Union before the United States back in the 1980s, and even before that, the crisis that have faced the British attempts to pacified the country and control it back in the late 19th century and early 20th century. So I believe that Afghanistan have been the graveyard of big empires, and it might be also the graveyard of the American empire, because I don't believe, or I don't see any prospect of success for the Americans in that country.
Mr. Hakim, is it the case that the longer the war drags on, the better it becomes for the Taliban?
Definitely, because the United States is being involved in too many crises. Its resources are being drained, and at the same time it's antagonizing Russia, China, Iran, even Pakistan, India, and other countries in its attempt to maintain its hegemony over global affairs. But this is exhausting the United States, and I believe that it's leading it to overextension, the way that was stated by the historian Paul Kennedy in his famous book, The Rise and Fall of Great Empires. So I believe that the United States is being overstretched, and it might lead to a big crisis within this country, and of course its role worldwide.
What eventual outcome do you think we can expect from this long drawn-out conflict?
Well, I believe that this will lead to further chaos in Afghanistan. At the same time, we don't see a willingness of the United States to cooperate with Iran, Russia, or China, which might makes the situation even worse. And at a time when instability is rampant in Pakistan itself due to the political crisis, this will further deteriorate into a complete chaos in the country, in Afghanistan.
Professor of History and International Relations at the Lebanese University in Beirut, Jamal Hakim, thank you for your time.